Good evening, YouTube. Ty Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully, you guys are doing well today. It's been a lot quieter, which I'm very thankful for. Yesterday was really active for tornadoes, just severe weather in general. Not the numbers that you would expect necessarily for an enhanced risk, but the damage was definitely evident. You don't necessarily need to have numbers scoring into the hundreds in regards to reports to have a very damaging, very bad severe weather event. And yesterday was a great example of that. There were only maybe about, from what I saw last time, it was 10 reports of tornadoes yesterday, about 16 wind reports. Still a lot of widespread damage, partially because these hit a lot of towns, and some of them were pretty large had pretty large populaces. So that being said, like I said, it only really takes one. I know plenty of examples of that. I'll talk about one in the next doc I make. But anyway, far cry from today. Today was a lot quieter. Only 4 wind reports, one tornado report, all of which were in the panhandle of Florida today. There is still an area of interest over here towards the Carolina coastline. In fact, there's a meso discussion that was issued about almost an hour ago discussing a broken line of thunderstorms, damaging wind gusts, and a couple of possible tornadoes towards the Cape Hatteras region, heading all the way down towards the northern reaches of the South Carolina coastline. The northern reaches of the South. Wow. But yeah, that's what we have going on there right now. We still have winter weather going on with this system, and we're going to be talking about that more because if we look down here, severe weather threat, there isn't any. In fact, there's not even thunderstorms forecasted for tomorrow or Friday, which is great news. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are happy about that. Then on days 4 through 8, if we look through here, all of them say potential too low. So it's going to be a little bit of a quieter period ahead. Does not mean the winter weather is going to slow down. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into that here. So of course, always should take a look at the temperatures. We get a good idea of what's going on there, especially on the wintry side of things. We're looking at the surface temps just above the ground. So here is our cold air coming in. Let me make sure I have that time frame on the screen here. This is heading into about midnight Eastern time, or at least in my time. And it looks like, oh geez, I've hit a bunch of soundings and all other sorts of mess because I have no room on my desk right now. Still trying to figure things out. I've made a few changes. If you want to see a picture of them, let me know. Even though my computer desk is an absolute nightmare right now. Anyway, this is as we head into the overnight tonight. Really frigid Arctic air ongoing right around the far northern reaches of the U.S. here. Most of it still looks like it's going to be staying north of the border. But this is also going to be setting the stage for the next couple of wintry systems that are in line here. As we take a look at Friday, here's that cold air starting to deepen once again. Secondary push comes along. Doesn't make it as far south, but it kind of roots in the cold air that was left over. And this is what we'll be looking at as we head into the weekend. We'll have to watch this region over here towards the Ohio Valley in the northeast for potential of additional, I wouldn't say these will be full-blown snowstorms, but these clipper systems could drop a sneaky inch or two or maybe a little bit more in snow here. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the precip type now. So make sure we got our time frame there in the left-hand corner here. So here is Winter Storm Cassandra posing a slight severe threat here on the Carolina coast, but we're still getting some pretty considerable snow bands beginning to develop here. This is about an hour out from now, and we can see that we still have a pretty stout low pressure here, 997 millibar low, and it looks like areas like Lansing, pretty much the entire state of Michigan really gets moderate to heavy snow, and this snow band really starts to stretch out around this time. And as we move this further along here, this does end up going north of the border, but I want you to observe something. Keep in mind that this system is going counterclockwise, and what's going to end up happening with that counterclockwise flow is that there's going to be lake effect snow that starts to pop in here. And this area right here, where it was a little bit more dry before, like at the start of this run, we see that moisture start to fill back in due to that counterclockwise onshore flow from the Great Lakes. So this is going to bring new moisture to the system and increase snowfall as it meshes with that cold air. So as this low continues to spin its way off to the north and east here, towards the interiors of the northeast, towards the mountaintops, we could get some light, moderate to heavy snow here. Significant totals are possible, but also I want you to observe what ends up happening on the backside of this as we get this moisture flow coming off the Great Lakes here. Now we're getting the Ohio Valley back into the equation here. And we can see a couple of smaller snow bands. There could be an isolated snow pocket, like you can kind of see it right here. I'm interested in seeing what that ends up bringing, because this could yield locally higher snowfall totals as well towards central Ohio. And this persists all the way up until the next storm system comes in over here that's north of the border. This does end up taking a little bit of a dip close to the U.S. Canadian line, but there's a nice little tail that develops here on the south side of this low, and this also ends up producing additional snowfall over towards the Great Lakes and of course parts of the northern reaches of the Ohio Valley. Whether this snow tail makes it all the way to the Ohio Valley is somewhat questionable, but with the cold air that's set in place and the amount of moisture that's coming from that onshore flow, I think there's some decent validity with that. That being said, that's pretty much all we have going on here over the country over the next days leading up to the weekend. Of course, we'll have a weekend forecast as well. And then we're going to switch over and take a look at the snowfall totals. I'm going to start out with the model comparison, and then we'll go to the blend of models here. So here's the blend of models. We're going to just basically look at everything real quick. We also have to keep note of the storm system that's over here off to the northwest here. This isn't too far out of the ordinary, but this is starting to get closer and closer, trekking a little bit further east of the Rockies here. Areas to the north, especially toward the mountains, should be expecting some moderate to heavy snow. There could be some slightly significant totals towards the mountain peaks where we could get up to about 1 to 2 feet. Definitely not out the question there. And this lingers up into the Colorado portion of the Rockies. We could see up to about a foot in some places. General consensus is mainly leaning to about 6 to 10 inches, I would say. But that's pretty much the story for this region over here towards the northwest. Northern plains, we're looking at slightly less totals, but still a healthy whopping of snow here. It's a small pocket right here where we'll have to watch for increased snowfall here as well. But this isn't too far out of the ordinary. This is the time of year when we would get that kind of snow in this region. Now, when we head over to the Dakotas, a little bit lighter. We're mainly looking at 1 to 2 inch snowfall here over the next few days. These clipper systems are going to move through here pretty quick, so the snow's going to be in and out pretty fast. Can't rule out a heavier snow band being possible, especially further towards the east. And then there's a little setup right here where we get to about 2 to 4 inches, maybe even a couple of spots could see 6 inches towards the southern ends of South Dakota and maybe even the northern ends of Nebraska. When we look further to the east towards the Ohio Valley, what we could see over the next 60 hours, we could see snowfall totals of about 2 to 4 inches, pretty widespread across the region here. Keep in mind also this is the Euro, by the way. And of course, like I said, locally higher totals can be expected off those Great Lakes as we get that onshore flow mixing in with that cold air. So as we start to look further and further to the east, the snowfall totals intensify quite a bit, especially as we get to those higher elevations. We have widespread areas of about 6 to 8 inches. Locally higher totals are possible. I would almost even go as far as to say likely. And then as we head towards the northern half of Maine, we're getting above the foot mark here towards Mount Washington. This could be a pretty impressive storm for you guys. And then as we move further and further towards the coast, the snowfall totals drop off here. And pretty much all the models are in agreement here with just with the Euro, truthfully. Slightly lighter totals here with the Canadian, but not too much really different there. It's a couple of holes in this in the total snowfall here for the northern reaches of the Great Plains. GFS has a little thing where it's putting little fingers down over here towards the Ohio Valley. And then this little snow shield is really more consistent further to the south from what we're seeing with this northwestern system. Of course, at the end of the day, the story is pretty much the same as we look more so towards the mountain range of the Northeast and, of course, the Great Lakes. That setup is pretty much etched in stone. Take a look at the NAM, the NAM 3 kilometer. It's a pretty similar situation. We're a little bit more realistic with the NAM 3 kilometer. Again, 6 to 8 inches possible through the Adirondacks. Higher totals likely more so towards northern Maine. Then through here, there's pockets where we could get high. Wait a second, what in the world? I don't know if you saw that, but I saw 64 inches. Where in the world is that? In fact, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. Jeez. I think that's a little bit overdone. That might be a mistake. I'm sure hoping it is. Because 64 inches in 60 hours, yikes. But this is like over towards New Hampshire and Vermont. Even for some of the high mountain peaks, that's pretty rare. Let's hope that's not the case. But just keep an eye out if you're over in this region here. Sheesh. NAM also has a little bit of a different consistency in regards to the Northern Plains system. It looks like this is favoring more so North Dakota versus South Dakota and Nebraska. There's still a decent swath here where we could get up to about 2 to 3 inches. Maybe an isolated pocket of 4 right there. But the general consensus is pretty much the same here. And then here's our British model, which has been impressing me a little bit more as of late. It hasn't been too inaccurate, but I try to keep the amount of models I look at on here to a minimum because I could be here for hours talking about that. And I'm pretty sure no one wants that. But the British model actually looks a little bit like the GFS, maybe pushing a little bit further south than I would like to go along with here. I don't think we see too much over towards areas like Kentucky, maybe West Virginia. Not quite sold on that, I would say. This area is pretty much set in stone here. But over here towards North Dakota, it looks like we're getting a little bit more generous on the totals here. But that's what we have going on with that. Let's go ahead and shift this over to the blend of models. So here we are with the blend of models, and it's a pretty similar look. I think the blend of models has been updated a little bit more recently as well. So this is going to be interesting to see the comparison. There are a couple little fingers over here towards Ohio that reach a little bit further south. Central Ohio's getting into the action here. We could see up to about an inch over there maybe. Towards the mountains of West Virginia here, we could see up to about 6 inches. Some higher totals are possible as we start to sneak in towards the mountains of Pennsylvania here. Of course, like we said, lake effect snow machine will be in effect here, and in pretty solid abundance here. Towards the northwest, it's pretty much set in stone. Plenty of model agreement here. There's going to be some locally high totals on these mountains, but other than that, it's not going to be a whole lot for the valley, so to speak, here. Small snow band could pop up here where we could see up to about an inch or more of snow. This doesn't even have the Dakotas really in the action here. There's small pockets where we could get up to about an inch, maybe a little bit more snow, especially north of right on the border, or just north or south of it. But Michigan seems like they're going to be the hot spot as far as snow is concerned. What a paradox. And then, of course, the Adirondacks. These are a little bit more realistic. And never fear, because while the NAM 3 kilometer was trying to inundate you with snow, it looks like the Blender models, which is the most reliable model, might have you at about 8 inches. So just go ahead and divide 64 by 8 and you should be good. But for the most part, nothing too significant. A little bit further out west, we might have a little bit more to talk about there. But other than that, not too much to worry about here. But that's the end of this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. A little bit of a change of pace here, not having to talk about severe weather. But if you did enjoy it, of course, do me a favor and do the double click here. Of course, drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Always appreciate that. And then, of course, anyone that may be sleeping and need to get some last minute shopping done, share this video to anyone that may need it. But I will have a video up for you guys in the morning. It's going to be the February outlook, so I hope you guys look forward to that as well. But anyway, I'm signing off for tonight. This has been Ty, Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good night. Take care.